Okay, so Sun Ketu conjunction for different ascendants. Let's start by looking at the chart. Okay, so for Aries ascendant, Sun rules 5th house, Ketu rules 8th house. So it's not a good planet, but also 8th house is connected with lots of changes, and 5th house is about like children, creativity and romance, dating really, and attraction. So these people can be like attracted to some person and then not be that kind of thing. That can be a little bit disconnected with dates. Could be an issue with higher education as well, academic education, which is 5th house. Investments can be up and down. They could have a child. They could have issues having children, or suddenly have a child, that kind of thing. So there's that kind of thing going on. So it doesn't really create anything, between the two planets being there. But what it does, obviously, is 5th house rule is a trinal lord. So hopefully, if it does go into a 6th house, that there's going to be like they're in education or service with children. So there could be a teacher, advisor, educator, that kind of thing. Or they could also be in medicine as well, so pediatrics, jobs like that in the within the sort of like health and well-being. They could also be healers too. Now, if it goes into an angle, so it creates a Raja Yoga, and the 8th house connection doesn't actually do any harm. However, it is, at the end of the day, it is Ketu. So just be aware. So like at work, they could have, like in 10th house, Sun will have obviously directional strength. But Ketu is kind of disconnected with your bosses, so you might not realize your dreams, even though Sun is going to be really strong there, because of the way you could be with your boss, or your boss could be with you. And also, obviously, the Sun being the indicator of father, there's always that connotation as well. So maybe your dad had issues with their bosses and got the same poor treatment or something if you had it. But it could also be that it's a spiritual teacher job, that could be very much the theme there. And in the 1st house, Sun will be exalted, so it will be very much like you will be shining in education and having children, that kind of thing. You could secretly have a child as well. So or you could have a cut in your education and go back to it and actually shine in that sense too. Right, next ascendant for Taurus ascendant, Sun rules the 4th house. So if it's and obviously what happens is, for you, Ketu rules the 7th house. So that your spouse, your partner, or who you're attracted to, could be from your homeland, from the similar sort of background to yourself. And you could meet them through the family. This also can be, obviously, it brings two angles together. If they go into a trinal house, 1st, 5th, and 9th house, then it can give a really good Raja Yoga there too. And obviously, in that case, will be pretty good. And particularly if it goes in the 5th house, because it's a house that Sun is very strong in, and Ketu does pretty well there too. And I don't actually think Ketu does very well in Taurus. So, if you got Ketu in Taurus yourself, you've had to really work hard at providing, because it's debilitation sign for Ketu. And so it could be some issues. And also, it's 2nd house of the natural zodiac, so it's a family, so it's disconnection with yourself, and the family could be the theme as well in the 1st house. And in the 9th house, that will be like Capricorn. So it will be a dad who is really ambitious, and because of that, they could have been unavailable for you guys. So definitely there'll be like an issue with the religion of your father. Your father could be like an outcast in a sense to the religion that you're in, or so you don't kind of like have the same view about religious and or just belief system, you know, that kind of thing. So your dad could be against government doings or whatever for education, you'd be no, they're doing the right thing. So you will not see eye to eye on those sort of things. Actually, let me just change this because that probably makes it a lot easier. Okay, so next ascendant, Gemini ascendant. So for you guys, obviously Ketu rules 6th house, so naturally it's going to break any good yogas. However, it's a job to do with healing, personal training, service to others, that kind of thing, and or even sort of things like police, you know, local government jobs, things like that, with the sun being involved. So 3rd and 6th house ruler, both of them are rulers of the houses, Upachaya houses, so it gets much better with time. So even though you find that your speech, your sort of debts and all that kind, your enemies are massive obstacles in your life, you will overcome them because 2 malefics there. But obviously, if it goes into the 4th house, in you know, this is going to harm the family a little bit. So be careful, you know, how you are with your mom. You know, if there's any kind of repair issues, anything needs attention in your home, in your car, deal with it, so it doesn't become a bigger problem, and then their issues could occur. From there, though, if it's in the 4th house, Sun will be aspect in the 10th house, which will be amazing. So it could be that you actually are like a builder, a plumber, you know, because obviously Pisces could be leaks and things, and yeah, so you could have those kind of things. You could be a mechanic and do pretty well, you know, because Sun being there will have directional strength, and both of them are really good situation. And it shows a father and yourself being highly spiritual souls, and this is going to be quite a good position. It's a 10th house, is also another Upachaya house, so I think I probably would like that. Really, it would be pretty nice if they were in the 10th house. And in the 9th house as well, it's not too bad, but you know, there's going to be health issues to do with that. In the 10th house, you know, you could be the person who solves issues, solves the litigations, works for the police, works for the government, works in a hospital, but they could create some issues or arguments with dad could have some money issues, that kind of thing. And also if it goes into the 8th house, it's like actually then Ketu creates this Viparit Raja Yoga, because it does well in Saturn signs, and through difficulties and real health issues or whatever, you will actually be triumphant, really. I don't really like the Sun in the 12th house, as said by my teacher, but this is something that gets better with time, and person starts really manage, because they might find that they can't manage themselves so well. But Sun will be the savior here, because Sun will be helping Ketu. Okay, next ascendant, Cancer ascendant. Oh, here we go. No. So this will be Sun's 2nd house ruler and trinal lord, which is Ketu. So even though there could be some issues with father, with, you know, bosses and stuff like that, however, this in itself creates what is called a Dana Yoga. If it happens in the 1st house, it'll be like a Raja Yoga as well as a Dana Yoga. In the 5th house as itself, that would be again fantastic for money, family, etc., and education. So this is going to be pretty strong as long as it doesn't go into the 6th house or 12th house. So it'd be pretty good. If it goes in those 2 houses, you know that this person could be like working in a hospital or a lab situation behind the scenes, or for some form of charity. Next one. So Leo ascendant, this will be 1st house and 4th house ruler. So a trinal lord and an angle lord together. So it's going to be pretty good as long as it doesn't go into the 6th house. If it does go into the 6th house, then you know that they could be nurses. They work for like some form of institution, governmental institution. And they will be very humble and work really hard for the homeland, people. It could also be the police too, you know, defending the borders and things like that. So yeah, it could, you know, if it's in the say in a trinal house, in the 5th house, will creates lots of it just creates Raja Dana Yoga anyway. But obviously, one of the greatest ones will be if it's in the ninth house, because Sun will be exalted and sitting with Ketu, which is like will be in a trine, be in an angle. Lord creates a Raja Yoga that will be the highest in Taurus. Although I think Ketu does take a lot away from the person initially, but it's better if it was Rahu rather than Ketu. But with Ketu, Sun will be strong. Sun is the one that's going to help because you'll have directional strength there, and will bring like Ketu will also be aspect in the fourth house, protecting it. But it could be a job in real estate, hotels, things like that. Okay, but I don't, in the 12th house can be a little bit difficult, but it could also be somebody who works in the with a charity overseas, or somebody who's got a home overseas. Mother lives abroad. Mother could have been foreign. They drive foreign cars. Next one, Virgo ascendant for you guys. This will be 12th Lord Sun, so it's not a good planet for you necessarily, and also third house ruler. So that these people are not going to be very good at communicating, because obviously Ketu, the nature of Ketu is like that. So it doesn't create any kind of yogas really. But having said that, if this happens to be like in the sixth house, which is Aquarius, will be good, because Sun from there will be aspect in the 12th house looking after it. But that this is going to be a job, secret governmental job, maybe working behind the scenes as a medic, or somebody dealing with things, service to the others, basically in a big institution, and obviously going to try and avoid sort of 12th house. But some will be obviously in, but that there could be some issues with dad there, where you either don't know your dad was maybe poorly when you were young, and the nurture from father and support will not be there. But having said that, it could also be somebody, as I said, who could be working in hospital, because this aspect in the sixth house as well. So no major anything going on there. But, Ketu will get better with time, because it's Upachaya house. But they will have problems. They will lose friends through lack of communication, lack of connection. They're not going to be that good at sort of like hobbies and things, and just not terribly friendly and sociable really. Next ascendant, Libra. So for you, second house ruler Ketu, and 11th house ruler, which is Sun. So this will be obviously makes money for you, and if Ketu is in good situation, in sort of if this happens in your second house, or happens in your seventh house when Sun is exalted, or even in the 11th house, then that will be good, because that just gives you that money. It'll be also good in the fifth house, because obviously from fifth house, Sun is protecting the 11th house, so money houses, gains and things like that. So in terms of family money, gains from family and groups that you are, networks. And if it is in the 10th house, Cancer, then that will be good. But obviously, Cancer is a difficult sign for having what do you call it? So excuse me 1 second. Apologies for that. Okay. Yeah, so pretty good. As long as it doesn't go into the sixth house, then this sixth or 12th house, I would say this could be pretty good. If it goes in those two, so it's a job, a career that's behind the scenes for the government, or for a hospital, or in a laboratory, prison service, something like that. And also you don't really, say be second house rule in the 12th house, so the person can't save money, could actually spend family resources as well. So yeah, because money houses will be connected to the 12th house, which not easy for the Sun to be there too. So it could be that dad had some misfortunes, and that created loss of family money as well. So we've got to have a big heart for our dads. Right, for Scorpio ascendant, so this is going to be the ruler of the first house and ruler of 10th house. So this is going to be amazing for career. It'll be good if it's in the first house, because Ketu will be in the first house, creates Raja Yoga of higher standard in the 10th house as well. Sun will be in own sign and also connected to the first house ruler again, another Raja Yoga. It's going to be good because it's a 10 house ruler. If it goes into a fifth house generally, so fifth house will be where both Sun and Ketu will do well there. So this is going to be pretty good. It's, you know, they could have a lot of expectations of their children there. However, they could be in education, academic education, in the arts. They could be teaching, they could be advising people very nicely too. They can do all those kind of forms of yoga and things like that, you know, be really of influence in the nice way. They could be wonderful teachers, wonderful caring teachers. And as long as it doesn't go in the sixth house, because I know Sun is exalted there. However, it could be somebody who's in the police service, you know, police forces, you know, security. They'd be really, really good. And let's go to the next one, Sagittarius ascendant. So this brings together 9th house ruler and 12th house ruler. So, you know, there will be some issues, misunderstandings with the dad. Dad could have been unavailable, or you could be that you have a stepdad. 12th house is unusual, brings unusual things, you know. And so, yeah, if it's in the 12th house, obviously Ketu is going to be okay. Don't particularly like Sun in the 12th house, but if it is, obviously there's issues with bosses, governments, that kind of thing. Yeah, so it could be that there was quite a lot of misunderstanding, or the dad was unavailable, that kind of thing. If it is in the first house, that's going to create a nice Raja and Dana yoga there. And what will happen also, both planets do really well there, but it could be a dad who's quite critical of you, you know, just wants you to be just so very focused on your education too, and religious possibly too. In the 4th house, will bring Trinal Lord into an angle. So this will be obviously a family who are very spiritual. But again, you know, they could be very spiritual, very given to other people in their community, but, you know, they could have issues in their own home where, like, they got leaking roof and things, because obviously, you know, Ketu pierces wherever it is. So it could also give mother, or your emotion, you know, emotionally can be unavailable too. But it does create a nice, high quality Raj Dhan yoga. Raja yoga. Now, if in the 5th house, this is going to be, Sun is going to be exalted there, so that's going to be pretty amazing. But, you know, you could be for education, you could be living abroad, or in a boarding house, some, you know, boarding school, that kind of thing. So pretty good, as long as it's not in the 6th house, because that's unfriendly to the Sun anyway. But even if you are there, you could be in a service job where you are in hotels, you know, like travel industry, that form of thing. And in the 10th house, well, obviously Sun is going to create a lovely Raja yoga there. So successful, you know, work, and it could be dealing with a lot of foreign sort of like customers, foreign accounts, export, import, that kind of thing. Right, Capricorn. So this is going to be 8th house ruler Sun and 11th house ruler Ketu. So they're both money houses. However, there's southernness. So you could suddenly gain, suddenly lose, suddenly gain friends, lose friends. Suddenly, you know, you're getting on with your elder sibling, suddenly you don't. So it's a life of ups and downs in those sort of situations. So you're learning about, like, letting go, that kind of thing. It's going to be a little bit difficult, actually, if the Sun is there, Sun in own sign and in a fixed sign as Leo is. It's going to be not so available, not so good with changes, and this is going to be a life of change, up and down. And your dad could be like that. Your dad could have had like chronic health issue, or it could be that you had your higher education was disrupted, or that kind of thing too. So yeah, so it's good to kind of bear that in mind. So, but it's also a flavor of your in-laws too. So they could be very well-to-do family, unusual but well-to-do. And so it's obviously, you don't want it to be in the 6th house in Gemini, because that will break, you know, those sort of, well, it's only going to be really creating yogas if it is in the second. If Ketu Sun go in second house, which creates money, sudden money, and resources, and it'll be again in the 5th house in Taurus, and that will protect 11th house, and again in the 9th house, which is there. But it would give, as I said, it can give breakage in your education. But yeah, 6th house will break, you know, so this is particular to certain houses really. And in the 1st house, you know, it's going to be a life of gains, losses, and gains and losses until you get to really work with both of them very well. So, and because this 8th house ruler is then aspecting the 7th house from there, or even if they were in the 7th house, aspecting the 1st house. So the relationship, you could have, it could indicate some form of, you know, you gain a relationship, but there could be a divorce as well. So, but if you have Ketu in Cancer, remember that you will move away from your homeland. So, because Cancer is natural homeland, natural 4th house for everyone. Aquarius. So for Aquarius, we have Sun is a 7th house ruler, so it rules an angle, and so does Ketu, rules the 10th house. So you know that spouse and work are closely connected. You could meet them at work. You could start a business together when you meet them. Your luck at work can start, and so yeah, in the 10th house will be amazing. Sun will be in a friendly sign. Ketu will be in own sign. Directional strength for the Sun, amazing. In the 9th house even will be pretty good because they both create Raja Yogas, which are very strong, and also will be good if it is in the 1st house, then it's aspecting the, you know, Sun will be aspecting the 7th house, protecting it. If it's in the say for example in the 5th house, that's again, you know, it's going to be a nice trine, so it creates really strong Raja Yogas. But it's pretty good in the sense that the person you know has you know, indicates the Sun as well. So if in the 10th house, the Sun, their dad could have been also quite successful in their career, and that's something that they have passed on to yourself in that sense. So pretty good as long as it doesn't go in the 6th house. But even if it does go into the 6th house, it could be that yourself and your spouse met in like a healing environment, in a service, maybe it's nurses, doctors, things like that, met at work. And for Pisces ascendant, so this is going to be Sun, which is 6th house ruler, and also 9th house ruler Ketu. So Sun actually breaks the yogas, but it does get better with time. This could be somebody who is an educator, works in a school environment, if it is in either of the, in anywhere really. So, and if it is in the 12th house, it could be that they educate prisoners, work behind the scene, in a lab situation. They could work you know, abroad, and or have their education abroad, but their education could bring them some debts if it's in poor condition. But generally speaking, yeah, it's going to be somebody who is wants to teach others. 6th house is teaching institutions as well. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching.